Hi, welcome to this series where we're going to be teaching you how to code. Over the course of this series, we're going to teach you how to build the default iOS calculator app that comes shipping on every iPhone. And we're going to do it assuming that you have absolutely no experience with programming whatsoever. If you do have experience programming, you can go ahead and skip to episode 6. The first 6 episodes are going to be talking about setting up Xcode, the difference between different numerical types, how to write functions and classes, how to perform arithmetic, and other foundational things to programming. Let's get started. So first we're going to open the App Store. We can quickly get there by pressing Command Space to open Spotlight and typing in App Store, or going to the Apple menu in the top left corner. Once you're in the App Store, if you search for Xcode, you'll see it pulls up in the search results. You can tell you've got the right thing by checking the publisher as Apple. It'll also likely be ranked number 1 in developer tools. You can see on mine it says that it's an update. That's because I already have Xcode downloaded. For you, it should be a download button. Now, Xcode is really big as a download. So you're going to want to go ahead and set apart at least an hour for it to go ahead and install. So go ahead and pause this video, let the download run, and then after you've let the download run, go ahead and launch it because it's going to install some additional components and that'll take some more time as well. Once we have Xcode up and running, you can go ahead and start by looking at some of the templates that we have. Now there's templates for all kinds of apps, but for the most part, you can get by just fine with doing the single view application, and that's what we're going to do today. That's the most bare bones template for an application that you can have. So make sure that you're on the iOS tab and that you go ahead and click single view app. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to start by naming our product, which is just going to be calculator. The other fields should be automatically filled for you. If they're not filled, you can go ahead and enter your name and come up with an identifier for your company. But really these don't matter until you're trying to publish to the App Store. You also want to go ahead and make sure that the language that you're using is Swift and that the user interface option is set to storyboard. Swift UI is sort of the exciting future of user interface development on iOS. But since we're only 1 year in, it's a little unstable, and so we're going to go ahead and stick with storyboards for now. If you'd like to see a tutorial on Swift UI and integrating that into your app, go ahead and let us know in the comments below. We're also going to go ahead and uncheck core data, CloudKit, unit tests, and UI tests. While all of those are useful features, we don't need any of them for our calculator app. Now, after you've created your project, we're going to go ahead and pick a save location. Awesome. Now that you have your project saved onto your computer, we are taken to the main screen for Xcode, where it's showing us all the details about our project. So right here under the deployment info, you'll see that we've got a couple things already checked for us. By default, it's going to have iPhone and iPad checked. Now, these options pick which devices our application will support. And for those of you that don't know, the default iOS app doesn't come for iPad. So we're going to go ahead and uncheck that for now since we're going to be using their design and we don't want to have to do any extra work to come up with our own design for iPad. Now, if you take a look at all of the things that we have over here on the left panel, you can see that we have a few files that end in .swift. We have 2 storyboards, the main.storyboard, launch.storyboard, and your XC assets. We'll go over all of those in more detail. You can also see in the top right corner, we can control the user interface by clicking on the show and hide buttons to show or hide various details. So if at any point during the tutorials, you're not seeing the same thing that I'm showing you, go ahead and check and make sure you have the correct panel showing. We also have Viewcontroller Swift. This is where we're going to be doing the majority of our coding. you can see that it's given us a little bit of template code that goes ahead and it sets some stuff up for us. We're going to be changing most of this over the course of this tutorial. Now inside main.storyboard, you can see this is where we build our user interface. The user interface is going to represent everything that our user interacts with. And you can even tell by the notch and the indicator at the bottom that this is supposed to look like an iPhone. And if we look at these different options up here, these tabs, they show us all the different customizations we'll be able to do. And if we hit this plus button up here, you can see all the different UI components that Apple gives us to build with. Now in this list is going to be basically everything that we're going to need to build our calculator app, but we'll jump to that in a future lesson. The next file is our assets file. The assets is where we're going to keep any images that we might need. Now you can notice that the template already provided us a place to put the app icon, which we don't have yet. But when we get to that, I'll make sure to supply the assets for you. We will eventually put some of our images in here, but for now, we're just going to leave this. Now this storyboard is going to look the same as the previous storyboard. This storyboard is a little bit different. It doesn't represent the user interface. This represents the splash screen that a user is going to see while your app is loading. Now, for an app like ours, it's going to be small, it's going to be fast. We really don't need to put a lot of effort into this storyboard. In fact, we'll probably end up just turning it black and leaving it there. But it's important to know that if you want a splash screen, this is where you'd build it. Now, finally, the info.plist is a settings file that controls all of the settings for our app. And we're not going to touch this file at all. It's really not important to the app that we're building, and is really only useful for doing some more advanced features like importing photos from the photo library or requesting certain permissions, and we're not going to do any of that in this series. All right, so let's go back over here to Viewcontroller.Swift. This is where we're going to be doing all of our work for this tutorial, and this is probably a good place for us to leave off as we get ready for the next lesson. We'll be writing our code. That does it for us with this tour of Xcode, how to download and get it set up. Make sure to join in on our next episode as we're going to start actually writing some code. We're going to talk about some of the foundational elements of programming, including numbers and arithmetic. All right, we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.